Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to build a bridge, a really important one, between the work your team does every single day and the company's financial results.
It can often feel like there's this huge gap between your world, the world of operations, and those high-level numbers that finance is always talking about. So let's dive in and see if we can close that gap for good.
So here's our game plan. We'll look at the two dashboards, find your core productivity index, uncover a powerful 1% cost-saving link, talk about why profit isn't the same as cash, and wrap up with aligning your metrics to the big picture strategy.
All right, first up, the two dashboards. Let's totally reframe the relationship between what you do day to day and what the company reports at the end of the quarter.
I want you to think about it like you're flying a plane. The financial reports, like the profit and loss statement, that's your flight summary. You get it after you've landed. It tells you how the trip went. It's a lagging indicator. But your operational KPIs, things like cycle time or quality scores, those are the flight controls. They are the real-time inputs you are messing with during the flight that actually determine where you end up. They are your leading indicators.
And this brings us to a really critical rule. Every single operational KPI you track, I don't care if it's cycle time, factory output, or customer satisfaction, it must ultimately influence one of these three lines on the profit and loss statement. If it doesn't, it might just be a distraction, not a true flight control.
Okay, so if everything has to connect back to the P&L, which financial metric gives you, as an operational manager, the clearest, most honest picture of your team's impact?
Well, you need a metric that strips away all the noise, right? All the stuff you can't really influence, like the company's tax rate or its debt payments.
And that metric is the EBITDA margin. Now that's a mouthful, I know. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. But just think of it as your core productivity index. It measures the pure, unadulterated profitability of your day-to-day business activities.
This quote from Alliance Trade just nails it. It really gets to the heart of why this is so powerful. By stripping out all that other stuff, EBITDA gives you this clean, honest view of how efficient your team really is, with no financial engineering getting in the way.
All right, let's make this super tangible. I want to walk through a real-world example of how one single operational KPI can have a direct, measurable impact on the P&L.
For this, we're going to use something called First Call Resolution, or FCR. It's a really simple idea. Did you solve the customer's problem on the very first try? No callbacks, no escalations. Just done. One and done.
Now, I want you to remember this number, just 1%, because a tiny, tiny improvement in this one metric can have a massive financial impact.
And here it is, the big reveal. For every 1% you improve your FCR, you can cut your total operating costs by 1%. How? Well, you eliminate all the expensive follow-up calls, which directly lowers your labor costs. And where does that show up? Right there on the operating expenses, or OPEX, line of the P&L.
So you're profitable, you're hitting your EBITDA targets, you're golden, right? Well, not so fast, because you can be wildly profitable and still go out of business. This next concept is an absolutely critical guardrail.
This right here is one of the most important lessons in all of business. Profitability on a spreadsheet does not pay the bills. Cash in the bank does. You can't pay your employees with your net profit margin.
So to manage this, you've got to watch your cash conversion cycle, or CCC. This is just a fancy way of asking, how fast can we turn our investments, like all that inventory sitting in the warehouse, back into cold, hard cash? And believe me, shorter is always better.
Now, companies like Amazon and Walmart are the absolute masters of this game. Through incredible operational discipline, like turning over their inventory at lightning speed or negotiating longer payment terms with their suppliers, they actually achieve a negative cash conversion cycle. This means they get cash from you, the customer, before they even have to pay their own bills. They've essentially turned their operations into a cash-generating engine. It's brilliant.
Okay. So we've built the bridge from your daily operations all the way to the company's financials. Now for the last and maybe most important piece, making sure you're actually using that bridge to go in the right direction.
Because the biggest mistake you can make is wasting time, energy, and resources on misaligned KPIs. If a metric isn't explicitly linked to a core strategic goal, it's not helping you move those critical P&L line items we talked about. You just end up measuring what's easy, not what's actually important.
And that's really the final takeaway. Don't just measure what's available. Measure what truly matters. So I want you to go back to your team, look at your dashboard, and ask this exact question.
Thanks for joining this explainer.